Hey guys, welcome back. Quick video on suspension tuning on the Traxxas hauler. I added these little helper springs right here just to stiffen things up, especially when I have a heavier rig like a crawler on the back. It's going to be adding about 6, 7, 8 pounds. What I found is that it was really just sacking out the suspension, right? It was just compressing everything. Even if I ran the preload down on the springs here, it was still just a little bit too soft, and the whole truck kind of got wallowy and swayed back and forth a decent amount. So came up with an idea of just throwing an extra little spring on the inside of the shock here, just right on the shock shaft. And I had these springs lying around from a internal spring project I was messing around with a while back. And these I just got off Amazon. They are a 0.8 millimeter wire diameter. So that's the thickness of the wire. And 7 mil is the outer diameter, and they're 15 millimeters tall. So let me show you guys how they look on the shock here, and I'll show you real quick how to install them. And then we will get to the performance results. So that's coming up in a video shortly too. This is a sway bar installed, but let's look at this. You can see that extra little spring inside there. And what that does is it allows completely normal stock spring rate up to about maybe 50% of the shock travel. And then it starts to engage the little helper spring, and it really, really stiffens it up from that point on. So it just keeps everything from sagging down too much, really adds a lot of stability to the truck. So I did these just on the 4 corners. I did not do this axle. I don't think I need to. From the run I just did the other day with a 6 pound, 4 ounce crawler on the back, I was really happy with the results. I kind of like the idea of this wheel being able to articulate a little bit better. It's up to you guys how many you want to add. You can experiment with these springs. You can go with a thicker wire diameter. You can go with a slightly taller spring. Just keep in mind, the taller the spring is, when it's compressed, it's going to limit your up travel, right? Because of course this is now blocking your spring cup from moving fully up against the bottom of the shock here. So you do lose some up travel on this. So that's a reason why I don't think I would go much longer. 15 millimeters seems to be just about right. It's when this truck is sagged under the weight of something on the bed here, it pretty much sits like right about the beginning of where that helper spring touches. So it seems to be just about perfect. It still has very good articulation. I'll show you guys a quick video at the end of this where you could see how these 2 wheels move. I was actually just running over like a rock testing the foams in the tires, but you'll see that you don't really lose a ton of articulation in this. And these work out really good. I'll have a link down below. I went back and looked at this order from like 3 years ago, and they're not currently available in this exact size, but I'll link up something very similar. I think it's a 0.08 by 7 by 15, something like that, or a 0.8 by 6. I don't know. It's close enough. Actually, this is a 0.8 by 7. I forget. I think there's a 0.8 by 6 on Amazon. I will link something up, but you can experiment with this, and I think you'll find something that works out really well. So I did all 4 corners just because I want it to be balanced. If you have a stiffer spring on this rear corner and you're going over an obstacle that's kind of really compressing that spring, it's going to want to, at the same time, rather than compress the spring. Now, it's like a path of least resistance kind of deal. If this is lifting up, if your front driver's side spring is really soft, it's going to compress that spring before it compresses this spring. So if you keep them all about the same rate, just for general like trail use, it tends to work out really well. So again, I'm going to leave this one off for now. I don't see the need for it, especially with the sway bar on here. That made a huge difference. Stay tuned for a video on that. Let me show you guys real quick how I did this. It couldn't really be any easier. Okay, so I just got the wheel off here. I will pull the bottom of the shock off. That's that. Pull the screw out. Lift the spring up and slide your shock spring cup off. It's slotted, just pops right off of the shaft there. It sits, keep an eye, it sits in that orientation, tapered side down, and then your spring's gonna come off. And you can see here I have the extra little spring. Let me give you a little close up here so you can see this thing in action without the other spring on. So you can see the beginning of the travel, it's not doing anything, right? But as soon as you get up to that point, it adds, it's pretty stiff. I mean, I feel like it's as stiff, if not stiffer than a stock one, just for this last part of the travel here. But you can see here, typically that rod end would bottom out against the shock body there. And you can see here, you are definitely losing some travel on the shock. So that's why I'm saying I wouldn't go with a very long spring, because if you have a much longer spring, you're really not gonna be able to compress this fully at all. So it's not gonna really do too much for you. But so from this point, you wanna just take, and just, you know what, just buy yourself a set of shock shaft pliers here, because it's gonna do, you can grab really low here with a pair of like diagonal cutters, and you know, this part of the shaft is never going to go up into the seal, so even if you put a tiny scratch on it, it's not going to really amount to much. But these just hold things much better. So you just hold the shaft and you know, unscrew your rod end off, put the spring on, screw this back on until it's tight. I don't think I need to demonstrate any further than that. It's that easy. And there you go. Your helper spring's installed. Take your regular spring, pop it on there, and take your spring cup. Again, it sits like that. Lift up that little helper spring, pop it on the shaft there, and there you go. That's it. Reinstall everything in reverse order, and you are good to go. So that's going to cover it for this video. Let me show you guys. I mean, I'm going to have some running video at the same time with all these mods done, so you could see how well this worked out. I think it's a really good, cheap, easy mod. These are like, I think like $7 or $8 for a pack of 20. You know, I don't know if you have use for them on any other trucks, but you'll need 4, maybe 6 for this if you want to do all the axles. It's a really cheap upgrade, really easy to do, and it makes a significant difference. I like this over going with a stiffer spring overall, simply because if you look up Traxxas, I have not seen, this is like the double blue stripe. This is like a 0.61 spring rate. I think it's the stiffest one they make for the GTS shocks. Aftermarket companies, maybe you could find something stiffer. But what I like about this is that you're not really changing the stiffness for the initial part of the travel. So if you're gonna run this truck with the bed unloaded, you're still gonna get some nice suspension action initially, and then it's gonna stiffen up a little bit. And you can really kind of fine tune this just by changing out these little springs and figure out exactly what you want. But overall, it does solve the problem of this thing swaying around too much and really just collapsing down and not giving you much travel at all, honestly. If your suspension's completely compressed, you pretty much don't have any more suspension. So this works out great. Let me throw this back together and I'll show you guys a little bit of running video. Here are just a couple short clips from a video I will be posting up soon. I had so much fun with this truck. I never even took the crawler off the back, which was my initial intention. So this thing worked out great. Tons of stability between the sway bar, these helper springs, and the silicone tire inserts. In this video, I only had the inserts on the rearmost tire. So really blown away by the performance of this truck. Had so much fun with this thing. I can't wait to get back out again now that I did a few more mods to it. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing if you want to see more. Check out the playlist on this truck. I'm going to be adding a lot of videos to this thing. I have a lot more mods to do to this. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll catch you in the next video. Later.